So in this video I just want to talk about 5 beginner plants for the aquarium that are very low maintenance and very low tech. So no CO2, normal to moderate lighting, no fertilizers, very low maintenance, and they're very common plants and plants that I actually keep in this aquarium myself, and plants that I've kept for a number of years and I've never had any issues with. They grow really well. Some grow a bit slower than others, but they do grow, and I've been keeping them for ages. Virtually no maintenance. The only maintenance I do is when I trim off dead or dying leaves. And these plants, like I said, are very common, so chances are you have already heard of them. So the first plant is the Anubias. Now I'm not going to go through species or anything like that. I've had quite a lot of different species of Anubias. They're all very similar. This one, for example, is a slightly larger species. I only bought this one yesterday, so we'll have to see how it goes. The reason that the Anubias is good for beginner aquariums is because it doesn't need a lot of light. It does reasonably well in low light conditions, but it will grow more with higher lighting. But it doesn't necessarily need higher lighting to survive. So you can put them in shaded areas and they'll do just fine. The second plant that I'm going to talk about is the Amazon sword, which is this large plant here. And this plant's really good because it doesn't need a lot of light. It will do well in a low-tech aquarium. It grows massive, so it's good to hide the background if you're tanking, because I like to always cover the back of the tank with plants because it makes the tank look bigger and you can't see the back wall or anything like that. So it's a really big plant. It doesn't need a lot of light. It's got huge roots on it as well, and it grows relatively well. And because it's such a big plant and it grows well, it will absorb a lot of harmful chemicals in the tank, like nitrates for example. I've always kept Amazon swords in all my tanks for a number of years. They're just really good plants and you can't go wrong. The third plant I want to talk about are Crypts. Now Crypts are good because they come in a lot of different varieties, and some varieties, like the more red varieties, won't do so well, but there are a lot of species of Crypts that will do really well in the aquarium, and they get really bushy, they can get quite big, and they can fill out a lot of blank spaces in the tank. I've kept loads of different Crypts, like in the local fish store they're just labelled as mixed Crypts, so I don't even know what species that I keep, but if I find that one does die off, then I'll just buy some more and they'll probably be a different species. So I've always kept Crypts, and some just grow bigger, some grow more green, some are more red. Like I said, generally red plants don't do as well as green plants in a low-tech setup, but the best thing to do is just get a few and see what happens. Now the fourth plant that I'm going to talk about is Vallis, and that's this long grassy plant at the back of the tank. Now I really like Vallis because again it fills the back of your tank, and the reason that my tank looks so gappy at the back is because I've got extra lighting on it for the video, but usually it's a bit darker at the back, so the back of the tank looks a lot more filled in. But anyway, Vallis, loads of different species of Vallis. Again, you got giant Vallis, twisted Vallis. Again, I've bought that many different ones at that many different times that I've got loads of different species in here. Some of it's really thick and some of it's really long. I've had pieces that go from one end of the tank to the other and then back again. And once this plant establishes itself in the aquarium and it hits the surface of the water and has access to the CO2 in the air, it really takes off and it really starts to grow really quick. So I'm trimming this stuff back like once a week, otherwise it's just going to fill the aquarium and there isn't going to be any room for the fish to swim around. But that's a good thing, you know. The more the plant grows and the bigger it gets, the more harmful chemicals that it's soaking up. Now, my fifth plant might be a bit of a cop-out because I've mentioned it before, but it is Pothos. Now, this is definitely got to be one of the best beginner plants for the aquarium, just mainly because it's really hard to kill it and it's really easy to add it to the aquarium. Typically it comes with dirt attached to the roots because it's normally used as a normal house plant. So all you do is swill the dirt from the roots and then just pop the roots into the water, and you'll know once the plant is settled because the roots will actually start to grow and the roots can get massive, which isn't really a problem. You know, you can trim the roots but you don't really need to unless it starts getting tangled in other plants. And the Pothos is a vine plant, so it will grow quite big and it will grow quite long, producing new leaves as it goes. But it's a really good plant because it will absorb a lot of harmful chemicals such as nitrates, and that's mainly what people use it for, but I also really like the look of it as well. So that's 5 plants that I have always successfully kept in low-tech aquariums. I only keep low-tech aquariums, and these plants have always done really well. You'll see them in all my videos and in all my pictures on Instagram and stuff like that, because I've always kept them. They're really common plants and you should be able to get them from anywhere. I typically get mine from the local fish store or eBay. If you have any suggestions on any other beginner plants, please let me know in the comments below and let other people know as well what plants you recommend for beginners and what plants do well in low-tech aquarium setups. I'll leave the names of each plant in the description because you probably won't be able to tell what they are just from how I pronounce them. If you want to know more about Pothos, I have a video about Pothos. Thanks for watching and I hope this helps.